Hi, everybody. Welcome to Queers and Soaps. I'm Tommy, and once again, I am joined by Angel.
Hello.
Good morning. And we are back to cover Port Charles' fate. We are entering chapter 3, weeks 9 and 10 of the arc. So I will roll the credits and we'll get right into it. So Ben tells Ian he can't help Ariana anymore. Lucy and Jack drunkenly stumble into her new home. This is what I've been waiting for. I actually forgot that this was happening.
Yes.
And they commiserate about, him and Livy and her and Kevin, but they don't say names.
They don't say names. Nope.
And they continue to drink. I like Lucy was like, just give me the bottle. Eve continues to remember her moments with Ian when they were held captive during her wedding vow renewal. Kevin asks if she's all right, and she says not at all. She ends up having to run outside. Was it outside? No, it wasn't outside. It was just to the side of the vow. Yeah. And Kevin runs after her, and they both kind of agree that it's not right and things have been off between them. But she's embarrassed to call off the wedding, so he says that he'll do it, and she runs off. Ian wants to know Ben's justification for wanting to kill his own sister. And we get more of the whole, dishonor to the family, blah, 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 bullshit. She has to be killed for honor.
Right. Oh my gosh, this story.
Meanwhile, I'm just like, just kill her already.
I know. I'm just, and I feel bad because, I am sure this was one of the actress's first roles, but I'm not feeling her at all. Especially when we get to stuff later, I'm just really not feeling her.
Lucy and Jack agree to try and cut Kevin and Livy out of their heads, but again, not using names. Just, I think she says Doc.
She says Doc, yep.
Because later on he goes, "That's your Doc."
That's your Doc.
Jack tells Lucy how amazing she is, and he kisses her neck, which leads to them actually kissing.
Making out, yeah.
Allison continues to tell Livy how she is too good for Jack and she could do better. And they both agree that maybe she should talk to Lucy and get some advice.
Uh-oh.
So I'm like, here we go.
Yeah.
And Allison offers to go with her. Kevin ends up walking in on Lucy and Jack.
Which I remember that scene from the commercials that keep playing. I remember the commercials more than I remember the
actual
scene. The actual scene.
And Eve rushes to the hospital to tell Ian that she remembers everything. Lucy tells Kevin that he told her to move on, so that's what she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Still not realizing who Jack is. Because no names. She doesn't really understand why he's so furious. And Kevin tells Lucy that Jack is Livy's boyfriend. That was so soapy. I loved it.
It was so good.
Karen finds Eve at the hospital, and she tells Karen that she remembers Ian and her falling in love. Poor Jamal is down in the dumps about his job situation, and he also reveals to Allison that it's the anniversary of his mother's death.
No.
These were really sweet scenes. I actually almost cried watching them, just listening to him describe his childhood to her, and just the fact that Allison was getting emotional listening to it, it kind of made me choke up a little bit. Eve tells Karen that it was the "for always" that triggered her memory in the vows. because that was something that Ian said to her multiple times. That like he didn't want to just sleep with her for one night; he wanted her for always.
Yeah, I remember that.
They look for Ian at the hospital, but he's snuck off with Ariana. And Eve is sure that he's trying to hide her. Kevin tells Jack to stay away from Livy. He says that'll be no problem considering that she dumped him. And Lucy confirms that she and Jack never actually had sex. Which I was a little disappointed.
Yeah.
Because oddly I shipped it, but not long term. I just wanted it.
Yeah, wait a minute. Like I was like, wait a minute. These two could actually work as a couple. Wait a minute.
Lucy says Livy is just starting to trust people and they should keep the secret between the three of them. The doorbell rings and it's Livy. Livy says this can wait when she sees Kevin's there and Jack is kind of in hiding. Kevin tells Lucy that he and Eve did not renew their vows. After Livy says, oh, you guys need to talk. Livy notices Jack's jacket. And this was a mess. Just Lucy fumbling for an excuse. Like, oh, maybe the movers brought it. And she was like, what? That doesn't make any sense. I think she even said maybe it's one of the movers. And she's like, no, because there's a hole in it that matches Jack. And Jack reveals that he's there. Ben is at the hospital with the immigration officials looking for Ariana. He tells Eve that he's looking for his sister, and Eve agrees to help him because she doesn't know like the circumstances. She says that she suspects that they're at a cabin, and she says, just let me change and I'll take you to them. Ian breaks into the cabin and says no one will think to look for them there. So what is this cabin? Because at first I thought that he was taking her to where Harris was holding him and Eve hostage, and I'm like, that's not the same place.
It's the cabin. I think it's the cabin where Eve and Ian nearly made love, and that was the for always part. But I thought that cabin was out of town, like way out of town from Port Charles.
Oh, this is the cabin that they found when they were in the snow after they stole a helicopter.
Yeah, when they that cabin. Yep.
Okay, I forgot about that cabin.
Yeah, that was the one where they nearly made love in. That
was
right.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, that's that cabin.
Gotcha. Okay.
Which I thought that had an owner, but I guess not.
So Ben tells Eve that Ariana is the one who hit her with the car and left her for dead. Oddly, Eve wasn't mad about that as much as I thought she would.
Yeah, wait a minute. I was like, because then I had forgotten that he told her. I was like, well, when is Eve going to find out? And she didn't have like much of a reaction to it. So
she was just like, oh, okay.
Okay.
We're going to find your sister. I think that kind of added to her because he gave her the story that she was mentally unstable. So I think that just, if she was going with his story, that just kind of made sense to her in her head, maybe.
Yeah.
Livy demands to know why Jack is at Lucy's. He says that he came there to see her, but Livy's like, that doesn't make any sense because I never told you where Lucy lived. Like, Livy tries to push him out, and sorry, I'm getting an emergency alert, which is covering my notes because of the rain. Lucy tries to push him out, and Livy wonders why Kevin is all of a sudden so against Jack. Lucy says he's just being a protective father. Eve tries calling Ian, and Ariana freaks out that Ben could trace the phone call and find out where they are. Livy finds Jack by the water and questions what was actually going on at Lucy's. because she says she was so twitchy. She was fumbling around her words. Jack pushes her away and says he doesn't care about her and that this was all a con. It always was a con.
Lucy, I think that's him being guilty over making out with Lucy.
Just making out, but whatever.
I mean, like, look, this is like today, Bold and Beautiful stuff. Well, except for what happened this week, but we're not gonna get into that. Like, a kiss will break up a whole entire relationship. So
Lucy and Kevin start to argue. Their arguments are so fun to watch because sometimes they'll start off calm and then it's like a roller coaster. It goes up and then they'll kind of come to an understanding and then it goes up again.
Yep. They're like Lynn Herring and John Lindstrom are just so fun to watch when it comes to that.
Lucy says she's sick of being second choice. And she said she's sick of Kevin's circumstances. They argue about their past, the present. They just go all around the gamut. Livy tells Jack that she hates him, and she leaves him by the water. And he whispers to himself, not as much as he hates himself. Eve and Ben arrive at the cabin, and Ben thinks that she should go first because Ariana might get freaked out if he sees him. Ian tells Ariana Eve is probably on her honeymoon right now, and he has accepted that whatever they had is gone. Jamal visits Allison at work and gives her a gift, and it's his mother's recipe book. This is really cute. So I have a question. When she was flipping through the recipes and she said Kelly's Killer Cornbread or whatever it was, and she was like, oh, your mom's name was Kelly? Like my grandma? Or he said like your grandmother? So Kelly's, the diner or whatever it is on General Hospital, is that named after her grandmother? Is that a connection?
See, I don't know. And I'm sure somebody will correct us, but I think I know Ruby ran it. Ruby, who is
I remember that.
Luke and Bobby's aunt, I think. And I know she ran it, and then it was, I forgot who took over after Bobby. After Ruby. I forgot who took over. Yeah.
Well, didn't Mike run it for a while?
Mike did run it. Yep.
I was just wondering. I'm like, that's a random name that kind of holds weight in General Hospital, so I felt like maybe there was a connection.
I hope that there's a connection, but I'm guessing it's just a case of like oh, we named something Kelly's and we forgot that there's a bar named Kelly's on the
right. Which I had the thought they should have just had them always hanging out at Kelly's or Jake's or whatever, just to further connect the two shows. But I guess because they were shot on different studio lots, that they couldn't really do that.
Yeah, because if you notice that like on Port Charles, they're always on the 6th floor. Yeah. And in GH, I forgot what floor they're always on. I think they're in different floors on GH. Not to mention that the hospital that was revived when Frank Valentini took over, but we're not going to talk about that, because that's a whole other thing. But I noticed that like they're always on the 6th floor. It's always the interns on that floor. You maybe see Alan Quartermain come in. You maybe see, and I think the emergency room too. I forgot that there's the emergency room because that was during the hostage. So,
it's too bad that it's not like Y&R and Bold where they just shoot across from each other, that they could share the sets and everything.
I think they both shot at Prospect, but I think they were in different parts of Prospect, so I guess that wouldn't have worked. I'm not sure. Somebody will correct us. I know they will.
Somebody would be like, actually,
like, thank you. I was wondering that myself.
So Ben totally like contradicts himself because at the end of the one episode, he's telling Eve, go first because I don't want to spook her. And then the beginning of the next one, he's like banging on the cabin door. Like, talk about impatient. He starts screaming for Ariana. He barges in and they're gone, but he finds her scarf there. Karen calls Jamal about a job being a motorcycle stuntman. Now, every time talk about motorcycles comes up, I'm like, okay, the garage is coming now, or the bike shop or whatever that they run. I'm like, I think everything's like a seed for this.
Yeah, because I think they had some elements of Time in a Bottle coming in this chapter.
Okay.
So I'm hoping the bike shop comes up.
Okay.
That's just a major thing.
Eve starts thinking there's more to Ben's story. He screams at her and tells him that no woman will talk to him like that. And he makes a phone call regarding Ariana being missing, but he is basically telling him the direction he thinks they may have gone and to trace her. And Eve takes what looks like a crowbar, but I don't think it was a crowbar, and hits him over the head with it and says no man will talk to her like that. I was like, that is cute.
Girl power.
And she takes his car keys. Jamal ends up not getting the job as a stuntman because of his lack of experience in the film industry, but he's offered an assistant job on set.
Okay. I like
Allison has made a few of Jamal's mom's recipes for him. And she gives him a note that she has written to his mom, thanking her for him and telling her what an incredible man he is. That was really sweet. I loved it so much. Man. And like Jamal, like, with his tears running. Oh my God, it was so good.
Yes.
It was so emotional. The car won't start for Eve, and she tries calling Ian again. And Ben grabs her and pulls her from the car. Livy comes to see Lucy. She doesn't understand Jack's behavior. She heard Jack telling Kevin how he felt about her when he didn't know she was there. So she's not buying this whole it was always a con thing.
Mm-hmm.
Ian finally answers the phone. That phone rang a lot. Like, I was like, was there not voicemail back in 2001?
I know, and there was. So there was voicemail. I remember that.
It just consistently rang as if it was a landline.
Yeah, I mean, even landlines had voicemail. So
right.
Like, it depends on if they're hooked up to an answering machine or not. But I don't know.
Ian finally answers the phone and hears Eve struggling with Ben. Jack runs into Chris and tells him he's leaving town, but kind of throws in the dig, not because of you.
Mm-hmm.
But Chris is like, I won.
I won.
Yeah. Kevin wants Karen to tell him where Eve is. She says she really doesn't know, and he thinks that she's covering for her. And the fact that he won't tell her says he has his answer. She must be with Ian.
Mm-hmm.
Ian returns to the cabin and finds Ben holding Eve capture. He gets the upper hand in a struggle with Ben and punches him unconscious. And he and Eve share a hug. Lucy is taking a train trip to a spa and has forgotten her wallet. Livy brings it to her, and she accidentally gets locked in the luggage department. Which surprise, Jack is being a stowaway in. How convenient.
Which, like, I was looking at, like, the train set and, like, when they was going down the hallway and everything like that, and I'm like, I don't think I've ever seen a train with, like, private rooms. Like, even on Amtrak, I don't think I've seen it with I think it does exist, but I just never have seen it. And I don't think it would look like that. Like, that they were. I don't think it would look like that.
So, hi Amtrak, if you want to sponsor us. I've been on Amtrak also, and I've thought about that. I've never taken an extended, like, overnight Amtrak though.
I have.
I know that they have, like,
I've
I don't know if
gone
it's more
from
room, more leg
Philadelphia to
room.
Boston.
Yeah.
And overnight. So.
Oh really?
Yep, I've gone from Philadelphia to Boston overnight, and I know it stops in New York City for like I think a good half an hour to an hour, and then that's when I just like snuggle into the seat and fall asleep. And
yeah, because I was like, okay, that the doorway where you kind of saw Lucy like step out and like waving about it, I was like, that looks like it could be a train like entrance. But I was like, what kind of first class Amtrak bullshit is this? Because even he had a shower because Lucy came out in a towel. I was like, do trains have showers like this?
Like that's what I'm wondering. Like, wait a minute, where have I been that I have never been in a train shower?
Right. Kevin is also on the train and has been seated in Lucy's car. What are the odds? It's fate.
Because the conductor thought it was Luco.
Right. And if we're going off the title of this new chapter, it's Destiny.
Mm-hmm.
Ian ties Ben to a chair, and Ariana walks in saying she couldn't wait in the car any longer. Eve says that they'll find a safe place to hide her, and Ariana says that it won't be necessary because her and Ian are married.
Off-screen marriage. You know, won't last.
Off-screen, but slightly not off-screen because we saw her signing papers, but we didn't really know what that was.
Yeah.
Plot twist I didn't see coming, but also didn't want to have coming.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, oh, it's all coming back to me. I remember the marriage.
I'm like, thank God there's only 3 weeks left of this.
I remember bits and pieces of this arc, but not like the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Ben wakes up tied to the chair, and Ariana tells him that she and Ian are married. Ian says they didn't mean for it to happen, but it did. Lucy and Kevin continue to banter on the train, which is hysterical. Like, I don't understand. I know back then they probably were allowed to have more than one take, but not as much as a primetime show, I'm sure. I don't understand how the two of them keep a straight face, honestly. The way that they go around in circles. Like, they must have like rehearsed in their like dressing rooms just to get like all the giggles out or something, because I was watching her face, it does not break. There's no smirks, there's nothing.
Nothing.
It's just
she's so good. They're so good.
Jack once again talks about his childhood with Livy as they're locked in the baggage compartment area. He says how Chris abandoned him and he jumped from foster home to foster home. And he ends up telling Livy that he never meant to hurt her. Eve is so shocked by the fact that he and Ariana are married that she doesn't tell him that she has her memory back. She said she saw the cabin listed in the police report and thought maybe that would be a good place to look for him. And later on the side, she says she took too long to get her memory back, and she cries. Kevin just wants Lucy to shut up, so he ends up kissing her just to shut her up, and they end up making love. Karen's mom is back in town. Now, Greg was next to me as I was watching this, and he was like, oh, I know her. Who is she? Was she on GH?
I think she was on GH. I'm not 100% because if I remember correctly from my research, of course Karen was on GH, so I'm sure that she was on GH.
Okay.
Like the original actress who played Karen's mom.
Okay.
Somebody correct me if I'm wrong.
She must be an original actress or a recast because Greg recognized her and he only watched GH back then. So
yeah, it might have been the original actress. If he recognizes her, I would think it was the original actress.
And me, with my limited knowledge, was like, I don't know, Dominique. Like, I didn't know her name. That sounded familiar.
Which, by the way, I didn't know that there were 2 Dominiques. So
yeah, so I figured I was right. So
I thought it was only Shell Danielson. So that's you learn something new every day.
Right. Lucy and Kevin wake up from their night of passion and continue to argue immediately and then make love again. I liked when the train conductor walked in and they were like, he was like, oh, I guess you don't need that room. And they were like, no, wait, come back.
Come
back. Poor Frank and Karen, they just can't seem to get it together and have like a nice one-on-one private date.
Mm-hmm.
There's somebody always interrupting, or they have to Karen had to cancel the last one. They were going to go to an auction alone, but Allison's tagging along, and now Scotty and Karen's mom are also tagging along.
Which I forgot her name. Oh my gosh.
Oh, they said it.
They said her name, yeah.
Oh, it'll come to me.
It's not Denise because that's the actress's name.
Hopefully it'll come to us.
Yeah.
We'll just call it Karen's mom till it comes to us.
Yeah.
Jamal, I put, gets accosted by some former associates in an alley as he's walking to his new job. They kind of like make fun of him for going straight, and they try to tempt him into a job for $2,000 for 10 minutes instead of making $6 an hour. But he turns them down. And I'm like, good, Jamal, you stay on the straight and narrow.
Yes. Yes.
So there's this very old looking computer at the auction. And Karen mentions Atari. Now, I didn't really at first pay any mind to this computer. I'm like, okay. But then I started to have flashbacks of my own.
Me too.
From like promos for the show.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, wait a minute. This is a seed for Time in a Bottle. Because
yes,
isn't this like a time machine?
Yes, it is. It's a time machine. By the way, I just remembered Karen's mom's name is Rhonda.
Rhonda. I knew it was an R, and I was gonna say Ruby, but I knew it wasn't Ruby because we were talking about Ruby before. So yeah, me just brushing this off, I'm like, oh, this stupid computer that Karen doesn't even want. I'm like, no, wait, this is important.
No, this is important for later.
Yes. And I love that. I love that they took the time and effort to kind of plant seeds for the next arc, because we're coming to the end of this one.
Yep.
And I'm surprised that I even remembered that from a promo, because I never even watched the show. So Karen brings up Atari. They're like, from like our childhood. Now, Atari was slightly before my time. I don't know if it was in your household, but I heard about it a lot. See,
it was in my household, and I'm not even as old as like when Atari came out, but I think it's because my mom or my aunt, was that Thunder?
Yeah, that's right.
I think because my mom and my aunt played it, and it was just always just sitting. It was the machine itself was like in my living room for some reason, and with no games. So I'm like, what's this? And then we got Nintendo and Super Nintendo, and so that's my generation, which is Super Nintendo. Anything like above Super Nintendo is my generation. So.
I was always a gaming system behind. Like I had Nintendo, but Super Nintendo had came out, and then I never got Super Nintendo, but I ended up getting Sega. And then, but that was when PlayStation came out, and then I got PlayStation when like I don't know, Nintendo 64. Like I was always like a system behind because we were poor.
I think that's what happened to me too. I think that we were like a system behind. Like, but I think we were close enough to where we could still play the games on Super Nintendo. And then when 64 came, 64. I'm thinking of, I don't know why I'm thinking of the GameCube and thinking 64. When 64 came out, we had it. But also I remember, also I realized that my grandmother worked at a department store. Mm-hmm. So that's how we were able to get it like kind of on time. So
oh, cool.
Yeah, so that was a hack. Like have somebody who works at the department store. Maybe you'll get the game system that you want.
Did you have Game Genie for Super Nintendo?
Yeah, for the Game Boy, I did.
Oh, for Game Boy? I didn't know they had it.
Or was it the Game Shark? It was one of them. I know I had them and I played Pokemon and I got all the Pokemon with it. So
well, Game Genie was that you could put the game into it and then put it into the system, and you could put like codes in and like skip levels and or like have special like, oh my god, I can't believe I remember Game Genie.
Yeah, I think it was Game Shark that we got. It was I know it was Game Genie and Game Shark. Okay. And I think I got Game Shark for the Game Boy, and that's how I was able. And then like I became popular in my group of friends because I was like, I got the Game Shark, and then they were like, oh my gosh, you can play all the Pokemon that we want. We can catch all the Pokemon.
See, I never had a Game Boy. I'm 9 years older than my brother, so he had like the mini Game Boys that had like the color screen and like whatever they were called back 20 years ago.
The Advance. I think it might be called the Advance.
I know he had like a Nintendo DS or something.
Oh, the DS. Okay, the DS.
Yeah, but he also had things before that. So yeah. Anyway, now that we went on a gaming tangent, thanks to Karen and her Atari, let's bring it back.
Bring it back.
Kevin decides to get off the train at the next stop and go home and figure things out with Eve. And I had a note. Lucy's hair is perfect. Like she's dressed right now, but her hair looks blown out. Not a hair is out of place. Like she didn't just have a night of passion. And Kevin and Lucy say that what happened between them can never happen again. And I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, sure.
Keep lying to yourselves.
Miracles wound up happening.
Karen and Frank struggle to bring in this huge computer that I thought was just a throwaway plot point from the auction. But of course, the show starts trying to make it sexual because all you hear is them making noises, grunting because...
Yeah. Oh my god, that reminds me of As the World Turns. The same exact thing happened, but it was two characters playing a video game.
Ariana wonders if her and Ian's marriage is a mistake, and I was like, yes, it is.
Yes. You don't even need to ask that. It is a mistake.
Kevin comes home and finds Eve asleep on the couch. Gabby and Joe make an appearance. They come in to Ian's, and Ariana tells them that they're married, or Ian does. Eve confesses to Kevin that she fell in love with Ian. He says she's not the only one that broke their wedding vows, and he said that he found his way back to Lucy. Mm-hmm. I really like these scenes. They were very mature and very calm and very... It wasn't you, it was me. Like, they weren't throwing blame. It was refreshing to see. Yeah, it was refreshing to see.
Yeah.
They kind of agree that like this isn't working. Like we lost whatever we had, kind of situation. Kevin asks Eve why she's not with Ian right now, and she tells him that he's married. And he's like, what? What do you mean he's married? She says some things just weren't meant to be. And he says that she doesn't believe that. Mm-hmm. She tells Kevin she doesn't want Ian to know that she remembers what happened between them. And she runs off emotionally. And immigration comes to question Ian and Ariana.
Mm-hmm.
Livy ends up showing up at the spa Lucy's at. Do you think that's because she was in the train the whole time?
Yeah, so I think she was. She's like, you know what? I might as well.
Also, there's no local spas. You have to take a train to go to a spa.
She's probably going to like the biggest, bougiest spa in New York. So, right. New York State, not New York City.
Right. Ian and Ariana are questioned by INS separately about the legitimacy of their marriage. I had to go back a little bit. When Ian was trying to convince Ben and Eve that he and Ariana fell in love, he was the most unenthusiastic. He was just like, I love her. We didn't mean for this to happen, but it just did. I'm like, really? Nobody's buying this.
Okay, people are gonna kill me for this, but it's almost like when he's saying the same thing about Brooke on Bold and Beautiful. So,
oh, really?
I love her. You're the love of my life. I saw you through a keyhole, and you just
oh my
in
God.
Rome's. Oh my gosh.
Ian is describing how he and Ariana met and how he fell in love with her, but he's thinking about Eve and kind of just using that as his inspiration.
I actually kind of like that. I like that. That was funny.
At least he was more enthusiastic with this one.
Yeah.
When he was telling Ben, he was just like very like, yeah, we're in love.
We're in love.
Obviously. That's it. I love her. Eve is struggling with the guilt over not being able to make it work with Kevin. And she feels like she messed everything up. Kevin assures her that is not her fault and they were trying to revive something that they couldn't. Eve in return assures him that it's not his fault either. Jack ends up coming to the spa, and Livy's in the other room. And he blurts out, he's like, I know that you tried to cover, or you covered that you and I almost slept together. And Livy walks in and she's like, what the fuck?
What? She's like,
what? Even Kevin ended up making friendship vows. They kind of like, it was really cute, actually. Aww. It was like them renewing their vows, but as friends. And I love that. I like platonic ex relationships. Kind of like I like Scotty and Lucy.
Yeah, I like them too.
Ariana thinks that she and Ian should share a bed because INS told them that they will stop by any time, day or night, to check on them.
Which that work schedule though.
Right?
They probably have like no.
Is there overnight differential?
Yeah, I mean, like they probably have like no like family if that's gonna happen. Right. Like, they better get overtime for that.
Lucy tries to cover up what Jack said about them almost sleeping together, and Livy's just like not falling for it. She's like, just give it up. She is like livid. She like wants nothing to do with Jack, and she runs off. Jack and Lucy talk about what just happened, and he ends up telling Lucy that he never realized until now that he was in love with Livy. She promises to come up with a plan to help him win her back. And they think Livy sounded like she was going to do something crazy. Ian overhears Eve telling Chris that her marriage to Kevin is over. She hides the details because of his marriage to Ariana. Ben is out of jail and goes to see Ariana at the apartment. You know, everybody's just walking through this kitchen.
Yeah, right. Like they're all like I mentioned before. The basement is actually the apartment, and then they go upstairs and they're all in the kitchen. So
right.
They're all in the kitchen. So
could you imagine actually being the owner of the house, like above ground, and just going into the like kitchen to get some like a snack, and there's just like random people walking in and out, like, oh hey,
how you doing?
Oh, downstairs.
And then there's a living room next to the kitchen, and I'm assuming there's another floor up above. So.
Right.
And then the living room, because I remember the Thanksgiving episode where Julie tried to poison everybody in the family. that was
okay. I have to go back and watch like pre-art.
Yes, I think that was 98. I think that was 1998.
Pilot movie Julie does not sound like the same Julie that goes crazy.
No, not at all.
And I need to see Crazy Julie. She sounds like Sheila Carter-esque.
Yeah, she was under the influence of Greg Cooper at that point, so which that was a whole mess.
So Ben is out of jail and goes to see Ariana at the apartment. I said that already. He tells her he's staying in the country to keep tabs on her, and he gives her a wedding gift. And I couldn't really see it. It was a baby rattle, right?
It looked like a baby rattle, like a silver baby rattle, which I don't know why you would give somebody a silver baby rattle, but to each their own.
Right. They'll break one of their baby teeth on it.
Right.
He says he'll believe in her marriage to Ian when she proves that she's carrying his baby.
And then this thought came in my mind. What I'm guessing that Ben knows who assaulted Ariana. Couldn't Ian have just said, I was the one who assaulted Ariana, but really we were in love? Like flip that around. But I think the hole in my theory is that, in the theory that they could have gone with that, is that I think Ben knows who assaulted Ariana.
Yeah, I was assuming it happened in their country.
That's what I'm assuming too.
Yeah. I still don't believe Harris is dead. I feel like he's going to come in.
Yeah, me too.
At the last moment or something. Just to round out the arc. We're going to be in Tainted Love. And be like, I still think Harris is going to come
back. I think Harris is going to come back. And then Caleb is
there. Chris comes home to find Livy in his bed naked. So he and Jack were correct. She did sound like she was going to do something crazy.
I refuse to believe that she did that. I think it's a dream.
See, I don't. I think she's acting out.
See, because like it happened. No, it didn't happen before. But like it happened before where she flipped the script on him.
Mm-hmm.
Where she seduced him, and then it turned out to be like she's trying to get information from him. So either it's a dream or she's flipping the script on him again. Plus, I don't think Livy would have came back to Port Charles that quickly. But it's also a soap opera, so.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
So that's why I'm thinking either it's a dream or she's flipping the script.
I don't think it's a dream. I think given her emotional reactions about Lucy and Jack, that she's acting out. Because what information could she want to get from Chris?
That's a good point. That is a good point.
So I don't know. I don't know if she'll go through with it.
I think she is. Yeah, I think you're convincing me that she's being emotional.
She might start to go through with it and then like start thinking about Jack and then be like, I can't do this. Maybe. I guess we'll have to see. To be continued.
Yeah, to be continued.
Ian tells Eve to give him the real reason why she and Kevin are splitting up. And she tells him that she remembers everything.
Oh.
And that wraps up our week 9 and 10. So these were really eventful weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I guess because we're gearing towards the end now, like we're going full steam ahead. We really only have 3 weeks left. I can't believe that.
Yeah.
We're really powering through this. I know that you've seen this. Is there anything you don't remember that maybe you're like speculating might happen?
See, I don't really remember the Livy Chris angle of it that much. I don't remember how the marriage ends because I know for a fact the marriage ends, because if there's one thing I learned from watching One Life to Live, if you have a marriage off screen, it's not gonna last. So
yeah, that means they weren't invested in writing it. It's just a plot point.
A plot point.
Right.
Not even like a little like city hall marriage or anything like that. Nope. Just like sign papers and then like what? And then we're married and like, hey, we're married. Oh, what the hell?
Yeah. Not even a Brady pub, wedding.
Nope. Because I remember on One Life to Live, that happened where Clint and Lindsay got married. And they came back. He's holding her through the threshold, and he said, "I think that's what happened." But and then he said, "Oh, we're married." And then Vicky because remember, Clint was Vicky's, so was Vicky's husband at one point, and Vicky just had this reaction like, "Oh my god, no!" So, and then they wound up getting divorced, like maybe like a month later.
Oh, wow, that's quick for soap opera.
Either a month. Well, they do have quickie divorces. Quickie divorces were a huge thing in the 90s. So
yeah, that's true.
You go to another country to get divorced.
Yeah, another country or another state.
Or another state, yep.
Because I'm watching Classic Bold, and I guess it was either the late 80s or early 90s, but they kept saying, "Oh, we'll just go to Nevada to get a divorce." But do you have anything else to add before we wrap this up?
Like I said about, and I feel bad for saying this about the actress who plays Ariana, but I'm not feeling her. So it's a little bit difficult for me to watch those scenes. I kind of want to fast forward them a little bit, but I know that I'm watching it for this. So if I was, I'd be just like, Ariana, get out of here. But I think Ian, I think Thorsten is holding her up a little bit, so that's what's keeping me from fast forwarding it. But I'm just not feeling the actress.
She's pretty.
She's pretty. She's a pretty girl.
Yeah, I'm not really feeling the character, and I don't know. I just feel like she's got a little bit of a fantasy in her head about her and Ian, because from the beginning she's kind of been obsessed with like him and Eve. Like,
there's some, because she's like, oh, what about Eve? What about Eve? What about Eve? And then now she's like, I love Ian now.
And when she was being interviewed, she was like saying, he eats a lot of steak. I'm gonna have to work on that. Like I know she has to convince the INS agent, but I also feel like in her head she's like, no, we're gonna be together forever.
I wonder if she goes crazy a little bit and then they.
I hope her and Ben kill each other. We have 3 weeks.
Yeah, right. I hope so too. Because it goes to passion. So.
But all right. Well, thank you for joining us for another episode of Port Charles Fate. Ooh. Next time we will be covering weeks 11 and 12. So we're coming around to the end of the arc. As always, you can find us on all the socials at Queers and Soaps. And until next time, have a great day, night, whenever you're watching this. Bye.
Bye.